Hello students, welcome back to this program of Likes Purana, the geography series. Now moving on to the next topic that we are going to discuss is the distribution of key natural resources across the world including South Asia and Indian subcontinent. Now as part of this, as it is saying natural resources, you know that it will have different kinds of resources. It might be the forest resources, it might be the water resources, it might be the oceanic resources, or it might be the coral resources, or it might be the energy resources. Different kinds of resources are existing which are derived naturally. So under this, we will have different subsections that we are going to discuss all across this particular series. Now in this we would see the energy resources. One of the most important topics in the context of UPSC, for the reason there is always a question that is being asked on these energy resources. And when we try to evaluate the nature of note making with respect to this particular energy resources as a topic, the major aspect that we have to see is that one dimension is what is the status of the energy. Now the status fundamentally means that it can be with respect to the energy basket of India. Energy basket of India, and we know categorically that energy basket of India is dominated by the thermal power, the thermal energy. So one aspect is what is the status, that is especially the energy basket, or what is the proportion of that form of energy that is present. Because you know this energy can be solar, or the broad classification of this energy can be renewable or non-renewable, can be conventional, non-conventional. Different kinds of resources, different kinds of energy can be classified. As part of that, you see what is the status. Whether we are talking about the solar, whether we are talking about thermal, whether we are talking about the nuclear, or whether we are talking about any of the other kinds of energies, it might be with respect to the hydel or biomass, any of these, or it might be with the wind. So these are the general types of energy that is present. So we are supposed to talk about the status. Now once we discuss about the status, then we have to talk about what are the factors favoring for that kind of energy resource generation in India or in the world. Factors favoring. Once we discuss what are the factors favoring, then immediately we have to talk about what are the existing challenges with respect to that particular resources. Because you know that there can be a kind of natural limitation with respect to the availability of raw material for deriving that kind of energy. So that can be present. So challenges, existing challenges. The fourth aspect we are supposed to talk with respect to this note making in energy resources is what can be the measures. And when we talk about what can be the measures, again it is all about the diversification of the sources. The diversification of energy resources, and its diversification should be driven in which dimension? It should be driven in the security aspect, the security of the energy with respect to the country. For the reason that energy becomes a very, very important component to ensure the developmental trajectory of the nation. So the developmental trajectory of the nation, in order to ensure that in a right direction, we have to ensure the energy security. So in that dimension, in that way, we are supposed to suggest measures. Either are we going to go for diversification, are we going to go for any kind of alternative energy systems. That alternative energy systems, in that context we have to talk about the technological development that has to be done, or the technological development that has been going on in the recent past. So this can be your structure of your note making with respect to this particular topic. Now coming to the different kinds of questions that are asked from this topic. See, once they have asked about solar energy, they have asked about atomic energy, they have asked about oil and gas, they have asked about, I think with respect to the coal. So when you look at this pattern, every form of energy is being asked by the UPSC. That we have to realize. And you know that India is driven with a lot of obligations with respect to your INDCs as part of the Paris Agreement, that there is so much of emphasis on the renewable energy. So this can become an important aspect whenever we are making notes on the energy resources. That has to be emphasized. Right? Now taking one question as the subject of discussion is that we can look at this particular question, that in spite of the adverse environmental impact, the coal mining is still inevitable for development. Discuss. Now when you look at this question, again our standard template that we follow, the first aspect is what is going to be the structure of this answer. Now when we look at the structure, the first thing that we do is we identify what are the keywords that are present in this question. Now when we look at the what are the keywords, one is the adverse environmental impact, the coal mining, and inevitable for development. These are the keywords. So once we identify the keywords, we know the immediate purpose of keywords is we will be able to generate the different kinds of subheadings. It is fundamentally to identify the scope of the answer. And when you look at the subheadings, we will talk about the status of coal mining in India. The status of coal mining in India. Apart from the status of coal mining, what are the adverse effects that are present with respect to this particular coal mining? And apart from what are the adverse effects, why is this coal inevitable for the development? Why is this coal inevitable for the development? And what is the way forward? What is the way forward in what? What is the way forward in tackling the adverse environmental impact of this particular coal mining as an activity? So once we discuss this part, we have to look at the second thing, that is the content of this particular answer. The content aspect of this particular answer, we will see now. Now when you look at the content aspect of this particular answer, the simple introduction can be the coal reserves, or India being the fourth largest reserve with respect to coal, and you know the 55% of the energy demand is being met by the coal. And when you look at the coal mining issues that are persisting, you see it is an unscientific practice. For example, some practice like rat hole mining, it is an unscientific practice. The poor working conditions of the labor, the obsolete technology that is being used in coal mining, or the accident susceptibility with respect to the technology that is used in coal mining. All these are persisting issues with respect to coal mining. Now once we have the persisting issues, then we have to look at one dimension, that why is this coal mining considered as having an adverse impact on environment. The first aspect is it will become a source of air pollution, especially the particulate matter. The blasting activity, the drilling activity can become a source for the particulate matter. The second aspect is water pollution. This coal mining components or the elements of this coal mining can be let into the water, leading to water pollution. Noise pollution in the context of the mechanical work that is involved in coal mining. Then the desertification process. The desertification process, for the reason that for you to explore this coal mine, we have to go for deforestation activity, which will further lead to the desertification, further lead to the soil pollution as an activity. So apart from this, these are the reasons why we consider that it is creating an adverse environmental impact. Now once we see that this coal mining is inevitable for development, in what context? It is inevitable for the reason that coal is a known source of energy. It is a known source of energy from the certain time period. Your industrial revolution also happened on this particular revolution, only on this particular knowledge on coal. Apart from that, you see it is a cheaper source. It is abundantly available. There is a prevalent technology that is already existing with respect to this coal and the coal mining process. So it is easy to explore. Then apart from that, it becomes a major source of employment, major source and major pivot for the industrialization activity that has to be undertaken in the future economic aspects. Then also the fly ash utilization technology that has been coming up, because one of the major components of the energy that is derived from the coal is, apart from that, you have the fly ash as one of the waste components. This fly ash is used either in the soil reclamation or either is used in the construction activity, any of these activities. So that technology is also supporting the coal mining being inevitable for development. As it is inevitable for development, and also on the flip side it is having certain adverse impacts on the environment, we have to certainly go for certain measures which are ensuring the sustainability of coal usage. That might be with respect to your co-firing principles, or that might be with respect to the good mining practices that are emphasized in the national mineral policy, or the alternative energy sources. Diversifying the energy basket, moving away from thermal energy, moving away from coal driven energy, diversifying. That diversifying can be either through hydrogen based energy, the gas based energy, or it might be with respect to the nuclear energy. So the structure is very, very clear once you understand the keywords that are specified in the question. And you can safely conclude it with respect to your SDG 7. That is balancing both the elements of energy with respect to the sustainability as well as the security. That is what is the need of the hour. With that, you can give a simple conclusion, right? Now, once we have done this discussion, now let's go for a practice question. Or before that, let's see what can be a +1 strategy. Now, +1 strategy for such a question can be, again, you know that we can have map-based. We can have map-based. Or we can talk about certain existing technologies, especially with respect to the clean coal technologies. The clean coal technologies can be a +1 strategy with respect to such question. Right? Now let's see that one practice question for the day. The practice question can be that with the growing scarcity of fossil fuels, the atomic energy is gaining more and more significance in India. Discuss the availability of raw material required for the generation of atomic energy in India and in the world. This can be taken as a practice question. The model answer for such a question is available in the Telegram channel that is given in the description. Thank you.